Hello again. I'm back in the Wendy house and I'm looking at stitching the second colour on these two leaves. So the first colour's gone in, and as I described in a previous video clip, I went down with the double thread down this side, and I'd actually left a few gaps. So I've now gone over again with a single thread, just working over the same area. And that might look a little bit chunky and thick, but when it has the second colour in, it will just really calm down and look gorgeous. If I just point out one little problem here, this thread is sticking up and not looking very good. Now, don't worry about that at all, because when I use the second colour, I'll come up through this colour, this thread, and when it heads in the opposite direction, that will just lie flat and it would look absolutely gorgeous. Just a test when you've actually put the first colour in to see if you've done it in a way that pleases your eye. Just take your thumb and just put it, or your finger, and just put it, I'm trying to find one without gardening the soil in, put it over the leaf like that, and that is the area you will see. Anything else inside you won't see, so don't judge yourself harshly on these areas inside. And the same with this leaf here. We've got a little bit of a thread sticking up here, there's a bit of a hole here, but if you just have a look, you'll only see that last 1/4 inch down the side. So I'll get cracking with my second colour. Now I'm going to cast on using the vein down the middle, because you want to be within about 1 inch of where the thread is going to be covered. So that's in centimetres. What's that in centimetres, Richard? 1.5 inches? 2 inches? 2 centimetres? We're terrible, aren't we? Really ought to get this sorted. You're probably screaming at me now. Right, so I put my 3 little seeding stitches in, and as you saw, I put the waist knot on the top here, just out of the way. I never like it to be flapping about near where I'm working, but that waist knot could have been in the middle of the linen, because we're going to get rid of it anyway. And then I used tiny little seeding stitches up the stem that will be covered later, and then another one walking up to the area that I'm going to stitch. So I'm walking up to this top area. So within, as you see, 1 inch of where I'm going to come up through. And the next thing I do is to come up through the very original stitch. The first stitch we did in this area was from here to here, which is all obviously marked on for you. So I've come up through this first stitch. Now, what I'm going to do next is to lay my thread down. So you lay it down like that. And what you're aiming for is for this thread to nestle between the other threads. So don't just randomly take it up and stick it down like that on the middle. Actually, just take some care at this point and just lay your thread down. Now, the first thread, the first stitch in this colour should be about the same length as the first stitch in your first colour. So if your first colour was 1/2 inch, this paler green here, then your second stitch should be about that. So that's a bit of a rule of thumb there. So I was just thinking about where we get all these sayings from. Most of them are from needlework, aren't they? Rule of thumb. I'm sure that's probably from stitching. So I've made my first long stitch, and now I'm going to make the shorter stitch. Now, and then go down on the centre line. Then a long stitch right up near the edge. Do you see that? Because you'll lose that first little bit when you head south. So then lay the thread down, and you'll find the angle is much steeper than if you'd gone just randomly inwards like that. So I'm actually coming all the way down here, I think just about there. So I'm judging the long stitches. The shorter stitch I don't need to, because it comes up right next to the long one and goes down behind it. Then every time I do a long stitch, to make it look gorgeous, just bring it up like that and pop that down. Now you'll see that in the first colour I was talking about long and 3/4 length stitches, and in this second colour I'm talking about long like that and about 1/2 length stitches. And you'll see that you need a lot less thread. This is one thread going down this tiny leaf, and I expect we'll be able to just finish with this and then rethread for the other side, or maybe not, but just enough to cover the linen that's exposed. I'm going down on the center line, and on this design there is actually going to be stem stitch down in that crease down there, so we don't have to worry too much about being perfect. And then again, lay that down just when you're not sure. And then when you've made one side, created one side like that, just check to see that you haven't made any gaps. And of course I've left a little gap there, so I can just pop another little half length stitch in. I can forgive myself for this, it's fine. And then I take the thread. Now either finish the thread off, which I probably would because I've run out of thread now, or just put a little seeding stitch, walk up to the area and begin this side here. So you've obviously made the long thread here. Now make the shorter one and then a long one, and I'm going to try and split that proud thread through there and down. Now I really definitely have run out of thread, so I'm just going to put in a little seeding stitch and end there, and then come back later.